From certain icons perhaps having no place in future entries, to other much discussed projects that may never get the chance to blast off into hyperspace. These are those Star Wars horrors that could rear their heads from 2023 onwards. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars nightmares that could come true in 2023 and beyond. Number 10, Boba Fett doesn't return. After largely being overshadowed by the likes of Din Djarin and co during his own Book of Boba Fett spin-off, an inevitable cameo or bigger appearance from the son of Jango was expected by most in Mando Season 3. However, as Temuera Morrison himself would reveal not too long ago, he was actually originally set to appear in the show again. Yet in the end, nobody got in touch with him, so he was just left waiting and wanting to give up, as he put it, which is really sad, isn't it? The star also speculated during his appearance at the Supernova Comic-Con and Gaming Convention in Melbourne, Australia, that Disney's recent budget cuts could be to blame for his absence. And after a few recent conversations in LA involving talk of changes and cutbacks, the star noted how there was no point trying to negotiate for more money, and he'd now have to just see what happens. Hopefully this isn't the last we've seen of Morrison's version of the beloved figure, but judging from those comments alone, most will have a bad feeling about Boba's live-action Star Wars future. Number 9, the Bad Batch don't make it out of Season 3 alive. The latest season of Bad Batch brilliance involved a rather heartbreaking but somewhat inevitable event, as the team were trying their best to keep from being killed by incoming Imperials. Whilst their railcar dangled high above the air, Tech opted to make the ultimate sacrifice and execute Plan 99. In doing so, the brilliant mind of Clone Force 99 successfully freed up the other team members' car so they could live to fight another day. But his detaching of himself and the other hanging railcar left him falling to his potential doom. And while there's still a chance Tech could return for the upcoming 3rd season, this is Star Wars after all, you do get the feeling time is running out for the likes of Wrecker, Hunter, Echo, Crosshair, and possibly even Omega. The next season has already been confirmed as the final one for this collection of lovable soldiers. And with the team not exactly being present in the animated or live-action series that are set in the years that follow the Bad Batch, it's highly likely that at least a couple, if not all of these soldiers not known for following orders, will tragically not make it out of 2024 Season 3 alive. Number 8, Order 66 feels less catastrophic by the year. Whereas once the likes of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda were the only Jedi thought to have survived the galaxy-changing massacre, it's now been revealed that more and more Masters, Knights, and Padawans were able to avoid being sliced or blasted in the time after Revenge of the Sith's Order 66 was executed. And while the odd survivor being thrown into the mix is rather intriguing, admittedly, the more new faces that are found to have evaded the Empire in the wake of Order 66, the more that whole tragic Episode 3 sequence is diluted. It's already been noted how Jude Law is set to play yet another Jedi who dodged the Order 66 catastrophe in the upcoming Skeleton Crew too. So expect this particular order to increasingly feel a little less disastrous with each new post-prequel series and movie that arrives on small and big screens in the future. Do you agree that Order 66 is feeling less impactful as the years roll by? Well, let me know in the comments, my pals. Number 7, too many TV shows lead to fatigue. After Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni brilliantly showed what was possible when it came to telling Star Wars stories in the television arena, Disney wasted little time in throwing a ton of other live-action shows into production, announcing the likes of Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Lando, the Rangers of the New Republic, and the Acolyte, not to mention a few new animated offerings too. Rangers of the New Republic may not have ultimately gone on to have its own show, but the Book of Boba Fett still ended up being added to the lineup, before becoming a somewhat disappointing entry in the end. Yet with so much new content landing on Disney Plus every year now, some have already begun to get a little overwhelmed by the sheer amount of Star Wars stuff on offer. And with the next few years set to boast new seasons of The Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, and Andor, alongside the debuting Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, The Acolyte, and Lando, with each of these entries set at various different points in the timeline, Star Wars TV fatigue could increasingly become a thing going forward. Number 6, the Writers Guild of America strike causes problems for the series and movies. May 2nd, 2023 marked the beginning of the Writers Guild of America's latest strike, and until the WGA and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers are able to reach an agreement when it comes to minimum wage rates, streaming service residuals, the usage of artificial intelligence during the writing process, and overall working conditions going forward, not a single writer within the union will be able to put pen to paper on a script, so to speak. So this could result in a number of Star Wars shows being impacted should the strike continue on for the foreseeable future. Tony Gilroy has already noted how he now won't be involved in any writing or non-writing work on his next season of Andor whilst the strike is in effect. The Acolyte, the upcoming new seasons of The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi, and the newly announced next set of Star Wars movies also won't be allowed to have any additional work done on their scripts at this time, which could result in significant delays for all of the above projects still in production or pre-production should this strike last as long as 2007 to 2008 100-day WGA strike. Number 5, multiple big time jumps in Andor Season 2 get a bit confusing. When Tony Gilroy's next chapter in the Andor story does finally land on Disney Plus down the road, fans will be hoping the series doesn't run into the same issues another high-profile small screen offering did just last year. The mind behind this second and final chunk of pre-Rogue One goodness has already revealed how Season 2 will involve a lot more time jumps than the prior first 12 episodes. Every 3 episodes will now represent a year in the galaxy, meaning 4 years of time will be explored over the course of the next chapter that leads into the events of Rogue One. House of the Dragon similarly attempted to throw a number of time jumps into its first season, and not everyone was able to fully keep track of what was going down and when, due to the speed in which the story was being told. Hopefully the folks guiding Andor Season 2 into existence are able to successfully cram so much storyline meat into just one season, instead of the originally planned subsequent 4 seasons, without leaving folks at home scratching their heads at the fast-paced events going down on screen, or feeling as though they've missed out on some other intriguing parts of the overall tale. Number 4, Taika Waititi's movie and other projects never happen. While Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy was quick to explain recently how Taika Waititi was still working away on his planned Star Wars feature, and Rian Johnson, while a little busy right now, really wants to step back into the space, it is starting to feel as though both potential projects could be at risk of not happening at all. Waititi has opted to instead turn his attention towards directing a feature adaptation of Kazuo Ishiguro's Clara and the Sun novel next, meaning that his Star Wars project that was announced back in 2020 has now once again been nudged back a touch due to his typically stacked schedule. And with Johnson currently focused on his Knives Out and Poker Face worlds, both he and Waititi may end up just being too busy to ultimately direct a big screen Star Wars adventure. There's also not been much talk of fellow in-demand director Sean Levy's upcoming Star Wars feature since that was announced either, with the Deadpool 3 Helmer noting to Collider in December how there's a lot of work to be done on the project that isn't in its preparation stage yet. Fingers crossed each of these talented souls get to the starting line, as Levy put it, but there's definitely a chance their projects will join the likes of Kevin Feige's potential Star Wars feature on the scrap heap in the end. Number 3, The Mandalorian movie struggles to successfully tie the Mandoverse together. Of the films that have recently been officially announced as ones fans can likely expect to see landing in cinemas in the next few years, it's perhaps Dave Filoni who currently has the toughest task with his upcoming Mandoverse cinematic event. According to StarWars.com, this big screen Filoni adventure will close out the interconnected stories told in The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and other Disney Plus series. In other words, the cowboy hat-wearing lover of all things Star Wars has the unenviable job of trying to not just squeeze each and every significant Mandoverse figure into this incoming feature, but tie together the many stories being told across more than 3 different series. If anyone can effectively pull off an Avengers-style ensemble epic in the galaxy far, far away though, it's the dude who has helped create everything from the character stuff The Clone Wars to the Rebels animated show over the years, but trying to give each and every one of these much-loved small-screen heroes and villains the time and attention fans of everyone from Din Djarin to Thrawn will be hoping for heading into this mega crossover will still be a tall order, and if Filoni doesn't quite stick the Mando movie landing, then who knows what the future will hold for the characters involved. Those that are still alive, of course. Speaking of which, number 2, the death of Ahsoka Tano and all other Ghost crew members. Ahsoka Tano won't be the only animated legend returning to the mix during her titular show. A few members from the Rebel series Ghost crew will also be dropping in for their live-action debuts. How exciting! But with the return of the likes of Harrison Dula, Sabine Wren, and Ezra Bridger, alongside their lightsaber-wielding ally, there's always a chance said latest appearance can actually tragically serve as their last. When it comes to all of those heroes, not that much is known about their fates following on from the end of the Galactic Civil War and events of the recent Disney Plus shows, outside of the fact that Ren and Ahsoka were on a quest to bring home a lost Bridger. And you can all but guarantee that a few of these significant players will pay the ultimate price as things start to heat up in the lead up to the upcoming crossover feature event. Who knows, maybe Filoni will even decide to have his precious Tano sacrifice herself in order to ensure the safety of Bridger, repaying the favor after he did the same for her during the aforementioned Rebel show. Number 1, Charmino Bay Chinoy's movie repeats the sequel's nostalgic mistakes. There was a lot to love about the recent official unveiling of Charmino Bay Chinoy's incoming Star Wars project, one set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. The director sits as the first ever female and person of colour ever to direct a Star Wars feature, and Daisy Ridley will reprise her role of Rey in the post-sequel trilogy flick, with the Jedi trying to rebuild the Jedi Order after seeing off the Emperor once and for all. Well, hopefully. That last point surely must sit as a warning for Obey Chinoy and the rest of her team, heading into this sequel's follow-up of what can happen when a new Star Wars project relies a little too heavily on the past and nostalgia. Hopefully this new entry will learn from the mistakes made during the film that came before it, and Obey Chinoy is given the freedom to tell a fresh story that doesn't get bogged down in trying to replay the hits. Or maybe somehow Palpatine will return one more time and finally convince his granddaughter to join him as the pair go about shocking porgs for 2 surreal hours. Bring it on, baby! And that's our list of any other Star Wars nightmares that could come true in 2023 and beyond. Well, let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and don't forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you're into this sort of stuff, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. Thank you very much for joining me for this nightmare of a list. I'm sure I'll see you again soon, but in the meantime, keep being a damn icon. Bye-bye!